You're on CYInterview.
I'm Chris Shandick. Featured columnist Jay Bilstein is with me. Today on CYInterview, we welcome back magician, Las Vegas headliner Murray the Magician. You can catch his show weekly at the Tropicana Hotel and Casino. You can see him on the hit TV show Pawn Stars and a variety of other places as well throughout the year. Murray, thanks for being back with us on CYInterview. How are you?
Thanks so much, Adam. Thanks for having me back. How was your holidays doing? Good?
Oh, our holidays were good, Jay.
Aces on the bases, as I like to say.
Very nice.
Well, to begin with, let's just start. There's a lot that happened with you this year, but I wanted to start out with talking about your children's book, which, you know, was inspired by a bunch of people, including a nice dog. So tell me about that.
Yeah, the book's called Nighttime, We're All the Same Size, and it was inspired because my wife Danny and I, are huge supporters of rescuing animals. So we have 3 long-haired chihuahuas, all girls that we've rescued, and a cat. And there's one pup that we have named Bailey. She's scared of everybody, but she wants to be involved. So she won't go and hide upstairs. She'll still want to hide under the couch and be there, but she's always scared. So when we were first dating, she's always scared of Danny or anybody new. And we realized once Danny lied on the floor to watch like a movie with a pillow, Bailey would walk up and then fall asleep right beside her on the pillow. And then same thing went to bed. She'd hop up in bed, and once Danny lied down, she'd run up and sleep by the pillow. And so I made a joke saying, well, at nighttime, we're all the same size, because when you're lying down, the chihuahua is actually almost taller than you, you know, because it's just the size of your head, right? So I thought that's kind of a cute thing. So I used to say that, and I said, well, I should write a children's book, which I've never written a book in my life. And I thought, well, I got 1 page, now I need another, 37. So I thought, well, how do I tie this into a kid's book? So I made this book, basically built on a metaphor, this little character that looks like me, almost like a little Dennis the Menace, that's running into all sorts of animals, snakes, birds, giraffes, bears, all sorts of sizes and shapes, even a butterfly. And basically, the metaphor of not judging people on the way they look or sound, but looking at them eye to eye, and, understanding them that way. You understand them a lot better. So we released it a few weeks ago on Amazon for the holidays and all that stuff, and it's doing real well. So something totally out of left field for me,
I don't know if you've done it yet or you've thought about it, but we need to get you either into the Clark County libraries or some of the Clark County schools and read the book to kids.
I would love that. Yeah, I'm open to all that stuff. So, it's a very simple book. The illustrations are amazing because I'm a very visual person, even as a kid growing up. So even if the child is too young to read properly, the photos are very inspiring and colorful and all that stuff.
Very interesting year for you. More appearances on Pawn Stars. You're always doing something else. I think there was some acting as well as always this year. How would you sum up your year?
Pretty wild. It's been one of those years. Every year as an entertainer, you never know how it's going to be. Good, bad, indifferent, from ticket sales to, people calling you to do a TV show or auditioning for something, getting something and not getting something, or even TV shows you pitch and not get something, and this is 2 big things towards the end of the year, of course, is my book release, which I wrote during COVID, which is just a total secondary project, and then my 1-hour comedy special, which came out about a month ago, and called, Murray the Magician Live, from Las Vegas. It's gone, and I've had this material for years. I've been working all my life, and I thought, everyone's doing comedy specials now. Comedy's on a real upswing, almost like the 80s. And I thought, nowadays, unless you're David Chappelle or Kevin Hart, where literally you can put your tickets on sale in 2 minutes and sell out, most Netflixes and Hulu's aren't going to go, here's, $250,000, we're going to produce your comedy special. So I thought, I'm going to do it. I know enough guys. We're talented. I know enough theaters. I got the material. I've been doing it for years. I'm going to produce my own. That way I own everything. And I can sell it, and then I own it always. So I went and did that. And we shot at the Plaza Hotel downtown last year. And we got in contract with STX Films, which is a distribution company out of L.A., and they sold it to Tubi, which is great. So Tubi has it now for 18 months, and STX has it for a total of 7 years. And it's our first special. So now we're looking at getting our second one, hopefully early next year.
Man, it's always doing a bunch of projects, always something to be excited about. Jay?
Murray, the last time that I was on with you, we were in the real throes of the pandemic, and I know you, besides everything you do, you've really got your fingers on the pulse of Las Vegas. How would you you characterize 2022 for the entertainment capital of the world, and if you could kind of transmogrify yourself from magician to fortune teller for a moment, what do you see for 2023?
No, I see a lot of resurgence of things that said they'd come back this year, and now they're really back. Or not. I think 2023 is going to even the playing field in entertainment. You know, this last year, there's a lot of shows that were put on the Strip, and also out there that there's a lot of government money, PPP money used to push shows and make things happen because you had to spend that money that came in, et cetera, et cetera. And so we saw a lot of shows that lasted longer than they should have or could have, or whatever the case is. And I feel like 2023 you're going to see the playing field a little bit more leveled. You know, like there's a lot of shows that we saw in this last year that appeared and then vanished within months or weeks, you know. And that goes from everything from extravaganza leaving, you know, Valleys, which of course now has changed to the Horseshoe. Xavier the Magician's leaving Stratosphere. You know, I know Chris Angel's show Anesthesia is supposed to be going on tour now, so that's no longer a show you can see in Vegas, you know. So there's a lot of changes, I think, happening, you know, even Battle to Hell. That's gone as of in a few days, you know. So I think there's a lot of that. We're back, and then we're not back, you know. So I think 2023 is going to level the playing field a little bit on what really is happening. And it goes for everything across the board, from real estate to gas prices to a lot of things. I think things are going to kind of settle into where they should be, not be exuberant or how do they get a show or how does this happen, you know. I could be wrong, son.
You know, what's kind of wild, as we're talking, I'm thinking back, and I mean, there was actually a point where the Strip was closed. I mean, saying that sounds surreal now. It was even more surreal when it happened. I remember when we spoke, you actually, at a point, I believe you started a landscaping business.
I did.
Did you stay with that, or was that just something that you said, you know, it's a pandemic, we don't know where we're going with this? Hey, I've got to have some kind of business that is not tied into entertainment. Is that still something that's ongoing, or is that something that you don't need anymore?
No, you know, it's funny. I thought it was going to be a pandemic thing for a minute. But I thought, well, if it's a good thing and it works out and people like what we do, then I'm going to keep it going. And right now it is. You know, my wife and I started during COVID a couple of years ago. And we're still trucking along, you know. And the reason why is I like doing it. Like, I really love doing it. All of our homes we have, I've done my own landscaping. And if, you know, some people go hike Red Rock or go hike a mountain or, you know, go to the gym every day or, I don't know, they have bonsai trees they clip or they plant tomatoes or whatever they do, you know, these sculpture things. For me, you know, as their zen or just their thing to get away from whatever they're normally doing, you know, the monotony of life. And I think landscaping for me is my getaway thing. Like, you know, I love working on my yard here. We've got a new home, my wife and I, and there's a lot of land to work on. And to me, that's kind of my yoga, you know, or my whatever Tri-Fusion or F45 or whatever people are doing now to kind of de-stress. So with landscaping, it really gets to use another side of my brain, you know. And I've always liked it, you know. And we have a crew of a bunch of people that help us for different projects, and so yeah, it's trucking right along. We're loving it, you know. So it gets me, you know, gets me off the red carpets and into the red dirt, you know, so to say, you know.
Off the red carpets and into the red dirt. I love it, Chris.
Murray aside, how is the show going at the Tropicana Hotel and Casino? What's the latest?
It's going great. You know, I'm still rock and roll. They've been there a long time now, and I love Harry Basil as the producer and general manager of Laugh Factory, and Tropicana's been awesome to us, you know. And now we're running out the year doing Wednesdays or Thursday through Sundays, and then we're starting the new year doing Sundays through Wednesdays. We're just changing our schedule a little bit. And of course, I'm still in fantasy doing the guest spot over there nightly, you know, over doing the comedy spot. So it's cost me a while. It's amazing. Fantasy's been amazing. You know, very, very fortunate. You know, I know Pawn Stars just shot our, I think, 19th season recently, and then we did Pawn Stars Do America. So it's been something else. Yeah, I've been very fortunate the last few years, you know.
Yeah, we were just at Fantasy, actually, with one of our other past CYInterview guests, Archie Luxury, a couple months ago. And
I saw the photo, yeah.
Yeah, and I just have to say about the comedy you do over at Fantasy. It's kind of like you go to Murray's show during the day at the Tropicana, and you get Murray the Magician, fun for everyone. And then you go to fantasy at night, and you're like, wow, this is another side of Murray that you could see two sides of Murray in the same day, basically.
100%. Yeah, I always called that Bob Saget syndrome, meaning, Bob Saget was everyone's father, on Full House. But if you really saw his stand-up set, you could not believe he could play that role on TV with that character, because it's not the same guy. It's like it's Hannibal Lecter almost, versus, Pee Wee Herman. That's two different worlds, So, but because he never brought that character onto television, his TV character was always that Danny guy from Full House, And also on America's Funniest Home Videos, he's always everybody's dad. But on the comedy circuit, when he walked on stage, it was almost his outlet to not be that character, be, the other angle. And he was extremely rude and crazy and crude and, also brilliant at the same time. So I realized with fantasy, even when I'm on the road doing casinos and that's more my casino persona. I can kind of get away with the 21 and over, 18 and over kind of material. Where you see my stuff, at Tropicana, the same stuff you're going to see on television, at prime time between 7 and 9 o'clock at night, And that's important to know your market and know who you are. And also, when you're building a brand or being a brand, also being accepted and it's okay to be this way and that way. You don't have to be, always locked in a corner. You know what I mean?
What have you liked, in closing, what have you liked about performing for Fantasy when that opportunity came about?
I've known Anita Mann for years, and she's such a pro, and she's got one of the top shows in Las Vegas, along with being a producer for so many other shows in L.A. and Hollywood and New York and across the States, And when she called me, I thought this is a cool opportunity. I've known the show for years. And I loved it. My main concern was getting the right material for that 10-minute spot, 10 and 5, because they're not coming for me. They're coming for the girls, and so they should be. And they don't know you're going to be walking on stage. So you got to get it right at the beginning, and you got to hold them for 8 to 10 minutes because they're not expecting it. You know what I mean? And that's a different machine than when you have all your billboards and people are already expecting to see you. So you can when Bruno Mars comes out, when he comes out and says he could sneeze, you'll go, oh my God, he sneezed because you bought a ticket to see Bruno Mars. You know what I mean? But if Cookie Jar walked on stage during Bruno Mars' show, or Leonard the King guy or somebody else who's not necessarily there for that, you got to find a niche or a hook for those 7 or 10 minutes to make that work in that environment that people are not expecting you to be seeing. So I love it. I love the show. It's definitely my favorite show, the production show in Las Vegas. Not just personally, but professionally and personally. I've always loved the show, even when it was Midnight Fantasy, way back in the day.
Phenomenal show, absolutely. We love all the people over there, including you. In closing, catch Murray the Magician, his show at the Tropicana Hotel and Casino weekly. Catch him at Fantasy as well during the intermission at the Luxor Hotel and Casino. And, of course, at nighttime, We Are All the Same Size, his new children's book. You can now find it on Amazon.com. Do you have anything you want to ask before we close?
No, I mean, I am still reflecting on the whole thing with the landscaping. I think that's a story. You know what, Murray? I'm surprised, actually, that story hasn't been picked up and kind of reached a broader audience across the Internet, because I really think it's phenomenal what you've said. There's so much emphasis on people maybe going into a gym per se, the kind of thing you talked about, yoga and all. Gardening in general is known to be a very, very healthy activity, not simply from the movement, but kind of the quiet contemplation of nature. And the fact that here you are, you're a guy with television projects, you're a guy on Porn Star, you're a well-known magician, you're a Las Vegas icon, and here you are, and you're continuing with something you did during the pandemic, and the way you contextualize this is very interesting.
Well, I've always looked at other entertainers that are very multifaceted, like Liberace. Liberace was one of the top piano players in the world, top showman, one of the richest performers in the world at that time. He also was a phenomenal chef and a collector and a designer. There's a lot of things people didn't realize, that he was also very good at. Even the Matthew McConaughey. He's not shy about hooking up his, F-350 to a, Airstream trailer driving across America. And just being real, so you can't have both sides. You can have that red carpet and I'm a performer and a superstar, but you can also be very real and enjoy your life too, and make that a public thing as well. When you're in the business, and I really have. I've been pretty transparent about that. Well,
I'll tell you what, Murray, I find it inspiring, truly.
So for Las Vegas headliner Murray the Magician, featured columnist Jay Bilstein, and CY Interview, I'm Chris Shinnick.